Back in 1910, J.P. Morgan bought a 1,200-year-old Egyptian manuscript that describes Jesus as a shapeshifter. A newly deciphered Egyptian text, dating back nearly 1,200 years, presents a unique retelling of the crucifixion of Jesus, adding unexpected apocryphal details that have never been seen before. This ancient manuscript, written in the Coptic language, offers a version of the story that diverges significantly from the canonical Gospels. Among its most striking claims is that Jesus had dinner with Pontius Pilate before his crucifixion, and that he possessed the ability to change his shape, which is why Judas had to use a kiss to identify him. The manuscript, originally from an Egyptian monastery that ceased operations in the 10th century, was rediscovered in 1910 when it was acquired by financier J.P. Morgan. Now housed at the Morgan Library and Museum in New York City, the text was recently translated by Utrecht University historian Rolof van den Broek. It is written in the name of Saint Cyril of Jerusalem, a 4th century Christian saint. The document reveals that while the Bible was canonized by the 5th century, apocryphal narratives remained popular among Egyptian Christians, preserving alternative traditions about Jesus' life and death. One of the most intriguing aspects of the text is the claim that Jesus could change his appearance at will. This detail aligns with other early Christian texts that suggest Jesus' form was not always fixed. The idea of Jesus as a shapeshifter is even hinted at in certain passages of the canonical Gospels. For instance, when Jesus first gathers his disciples, one man sees a beautiful woman beckoning him, while another sees a little boy doing the same. These differing perceptions suggest that Jesus had an ethereal or otherworldly presence, allowing him to appear differently to different people. Another fascinating twist in the newly translated text is the depiction of Jesus and Pontius Pilate sharing a meal before the crucifixion. In this account, Pilate offers to sacrifice his own son in place of Jesus, an idea that does not appear in the canonical Gospels. This version of the story paints Pilate in a much more sympathetic light, portraying him as someone who tried to prevent Jesus' execution rather than merely succumbing to public pressure. Such narratives challenge the traditional understanding of Pilate's role in Christian theology and suggest that alternative accounts of these events circulated widely in early Christian communities. The claim that Judas had to kiss Jesus to identify him because he was constantly changing his shape adds another layer of mystery to the story. This version of events suggests that Jesus possessed divine powers that allowed him to evade capture until he was betrayed in a way that left no room for doubt. While this depiction of Judas's betrayal differs from the traditional biblical account, it aligns with other apocryphal texts that describe Jesus as a being beyond normal human comprehension. The newly deciphered manuscript sheds light on the diversity of beliefs that existed in early Christianity. Before the formation of a standardized Christian doctrine, many different interpretations of Jesus' life and teachings were widely accepted. The fact that Egyptian Christians continued to preserve and circulate apocryphal texts long after the Bible was canonized demonstrates the rich and complex nature of early Christian thought. As this manuscript continues to be studied, it raises new questions about the nature of early Christian beliefs and how different communities understood the story of Jesus. The possibility that Jesus was perceived as a shapeshifter adds a mysterious aspect to his character, making him even more mysterious. Whether these apocryphal accounts contain any historical truth remains unknown, but they offer a fascinating glimpse into how different groups of believers viewed their Savior. The discovery of this text serves as a reminder that history is often more complex than what is written in mainstream accounts. The nursing home devil. A chilling photograph taken from a nurse's viewing monitor has left many questioning the existence of mysterious entities that appear during a person's final moments. In this particular instance, a shadowy black figure was captured standing over a bedridden patient in a nursing home. The image, which quickly gained attention, has since been referred to as the nursing home devil due to the ominous nature of the entity's appearance. What makes this case even more unsettling is that just hours after the figure was photographed, the patient passed away. The nurse who took the image had been monitoring the patient's vitals when she noticed an unusual dark shape on the screen. At first, she assumed it was a technical glitch or a shadow cast from an object in the room. However, upon closer inspection, she realized that the figure had a humanoid form, standing directly on top of the patient's frail body. Despite her initial skepticism, she felt an eerie presence in the room, as though she was being watched. Within a few short hours, the patient took their last breath, leaving the nurse haunted by what she had witnessed. Over the years, countless individuals have reported seeing strange apparitions in hospitals and nursing homes. Many describe shadowy figures lurking in the corners of rooms, while others claim to have seen ghostly silhouettes standing at the foot of dying patients' beds. Some healthcare workers have even recounted their experiences of feeling an unexplainable weight in the air just moments before a patient passes away. These eerie occurrences have led many to believe that there is a connection between these mysterious entities and the transition between life and death. The phenomenon is not limited to just one location or isolated incident. Reports of shadow figures, whispering voices, and unexplained movements have surfaced in hospitals and hospice centers around the world. Some speculate that these figures could be spiritual beings, guiding souls to the afterlife. Others believe they may be manifestations of the energy released during the dying process. Regardless of the explanation, the consistency of these sightings across different cultures and time periods cannot be ignored. The image of the nursing home devil serves as one of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting these claims. Some may argue that the figure captured in the photograph was a mere trick of the light or a camera malfunction. However, those who have experienced similar encounters firsthand know that there is something far more mysterious at play. The fact that the patient passed away shortly after the figure's appearance only adds to the unsettling nature of the case. Stories like this continue to fuel discussions about what happens at the moment of death. Do these entities arrive to escort souls into the afterlife, or are they something far more sinister? While science has yet to provide concrete answers, the growing number of testimonies from nurses, doctors, and patients alike suggests that there is still much we do not understand about the spiritual realm. This mysterious photograph remains a chilling reminder that, in the final moments of life, we may not be as alone as we think. The mysterious case of Dr. Jacobo Grinberg. Dr. Jacobo Grinberg was a brilliant Mexican scientist whose work sought to bridge the gap between science and the paranormal. As a psychologist and consciousness researcher, he conducted groundbreaking experiments in telepathy and extraocular vision, pushing the boundaries of human understanding. His theories suggested that consciousness could exert influence over reality itself, challenging traditional scientific paradigms. However, at the height of his career, Dr. Grinberg mysteriously disappeared on December 8, 1994, leaving behind an unfinished body of work that could have revolutionized the study of human consciousness. Dr. Grinberg's research was deeply rooted in both psychology and physics. One of his most influential theories was the concept of the lattice, a term borrowed from physics that describes the fundamental structure of space-time. However, in his interpretation, the lattice was not merely a passive framework, but an active informational matrix that could be influenced by human perception. He introduced the concept of syntaggy, a neologism combining synthesis and energy, to explain the interaction between human consciousness and this informational field. His work suggested that the human brain does not simply perceive reality, but actively participates in shaping it. According to Dr. Grinberg's syntergic theory, consciousness emerges through the interaction of the brain's energetic field with the lattice. He believed that human thought and perception were not just internal processes, but were linked to an external structure that determines the nature of reality. If his theory were true, it would mean that perception is not merely the brain interpreting stimuli, but actively constructing the world we experience. This idea has striking parallels to modern theories of quantum mechanics and the nature of reality, where observation itself is believed to influence the behavior of particles. Perhaps the most fascinating implication of Dr. Grinberg's theory is the possibility that we live in an informational hologram, a matrix-like construct where consciousness plays a vital role in determining the nature of reality. If our thoughts and perceptions shape the world around us, then human beings are not just passive observers, but creators of their own existence. This idea resonates with ancient philosophical and spiritual traditions that suggest reality is an illusion shaped by the mind. Grinberg's work attempted to provide a scientific framework for these mystical concepts, offering a bridge between science and spirituality. Despite his promising research, Dr. Grinberg's career was cut short by his unexplained disappearance in 1994. He was last seen on December 8 of that year, and his sudden vanishing has baffled investigators and researchers ever since. Some speculate that he was silenced because his theories posed a threat to established scientific and governmental institutions. Others believe he may have achieved an extraordinary breakthrough, one that allowed him to transcend the physical world entirely. His case remains one of Mexico's greatest scientific mysteries, with no concrete leads or explanations for what happened to him. Adding to the mystery, much of Dr. Grinberg's research and personal documents disappeared along with him. His absence left a void in the scientific community, depriving the world of a mind that dared to explore the unknown. His ideas, however, continue to inspire researchers, scientists, and those fascinated by the nature of consciousness. Whether he was taken, silenced, or simply vanished by his own accord, Dr. Grinberg's disappearance ensures that his work remains shrouded in intrigue. The legacy of Dr. Jacobo Grinberg is one of curiosity, exploration, and an unwavering belief in the power of human consciousness. His work challenged the rigid boundaries of science, suggesting that reality is far more malleable than we believe. Though he vanished without a trace, his theories continue to inspire new generations of researchers to question the very fabric of existence. If his ideas hold any truth, then the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe may lie not in the stars, but within the depths of our own minds. The unsolved mystery of Lauren Spierer. Lauren Spierer's disappearance remains one of the most haunting and perplexing cases in recent history. The 20-year-old Indiana University student vanished without a trace in the early morning hours of June 3, 2011, after a night out with friends in Bloomington, Indiana. Despite extensive investigations, widespread media attention, and countless search efforts, no definitive answers have been found regarding what happened to her. The case remains a source of heartbreak for her family and a chilling reminder of how quickly someone can vanish. Lauren was last seen walking near the intersection of 11th Street and College Avenue around 4:30 in the morning. She had spent the evening drinking with friends at Kilroy's Sports Bar, a popular spot among Indiana University students. Surveillance footage captured her leaving the bar barefoot, and her friends later reported that she was extremely intoxicated. Throughout the night, she moved between different apartments with acquaintances, and at some point, she became separated from those she had been with. She never made it back to her own apartment, and no one has seen or heard from her since. From the start, the investigation into Lauren's disappearance has centered on the individuals she was last with. The young men who were with her that night gave statements about their interactions with her, but their accounts have been scrutinized and questioned. Many people, including students at Indiana University at the time, suspected that they knew more than they were letting on. The prevailing theory was that something happened to Lauren while she was with them, and they may have covered it up. However, law enforcement has never formally named them as suspects, and as time has passed, opinions have shifted regarding their potential involvement. One widely discussed theory is that Lauren may have suffered a fatal overdose. Given that she was highly intoxicated and allegedly using substances, some believe she may have overdosed, leading those with her to panic. If this theory is true, it's possible that the individuals she was with disposed of her body to avoid legal trouble, especially if they had provided her with any illegal substances. However, without any concrete evidence, this theory remains speculation. Another theory is that Lauren left the area on her own and accidentally fell into a dangerous location, such as a construction site. Indiana University's campus is frequently under construction, and some have suggested that she may have wandered into an area with open pits or hazardous conditions. However, given the large-scale searches conducted in the aftermath of her disappearance, many find it unlikely that her body wouldn't have been discovered. A more troubling possibility is that Lauren was taken by a stranger. This theory suggests that someone unfamiliar to her, possibly a predator who was out that night, took advantage of her vulnerable state. Bloomington is a college town with a lively bar scene, attracting people from various backgrounds. If an opportunistic individual spotted Lauren walking alone in a compromised state, they could have easily taken her without drawing much attention. This theory is particularly chilling because it suggests that her perpetrator may have been a random person, making it even more difficult for investigators to track down leads. Despite exhaustive efforts to find her, Lauren remains missing, and no significant breakthroughs have been made in the case. Her parents, Robert and Charlene Spierer, have tirelessly advocated for answers, keeping her story in the public eye in the hope that someone will come forward with information. Over the years, authorities have followed numerous leads, including potential connections to other missing persons cases, but none have resulted in finding Lauren or determining what happened to her. Her case continues to resonate with students, parents, and communities across the country. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that can arise from excessive drinking and impaired judgment, as well as the terrifying reality that people can vanish without a trace. For many, the mystery of what happened to Lauren Spierer remains deeply unsettling, and until answers are found, her disappearance will continue to haunt those who remember her. The Horned Beast of Bahia, Brazil. The Horned Beast of Bahia, Brazil is a mystery that continues to intrigue those who come across the chilling image that first surfaced during the summer months in the coastal state of Bahia. Known for its beautiful beaches and thriving tourism industry, Bahia is a hotspot for American tourists seeking a tropical getaway. However, amidst the pristine beauty of its shores and dense mangrove forests, a disturbing photograph has sparked intense debate and speculation. The image depicts a strange, horned humanoid creature, covered in mud, standing in a murky river while seemingly carrying the limp body of a small humanoid. The origins of the photograph remain unclear, but many claim it was captured by a 15-year-old American tourist who happened upon the creature by chance. Terrified by what she saw, she reportedly snapped a quick photo before fleeing the area. The image soon spread across the internet, drawing widespread attention and a mix of skepticism and belief. The clarity of the photograph has led many to question whether it is a fabrication, but even skeptics acknowledge that if it were faked, it would require either advanced practical effects or a misidentification of something entirely mundane. Some have attempted to debunk the image, suggesting that the figure seen in the water is nothing more than a local clam fisherman. Bahia is known for its clam fishing industry, with fishermen often retreating to secluded areas to gather their catch. However, upon closer inspection, the figure in the image appears to lack any distinctly human features. It is covered in mud from head to toe, with its skin appearing an unnatural shade of grey. There is no visible pinkish flesh or any other indicators of human anatomy, making the fisherman theory difficult to accept. One of the most unsettling details in the image is the presence of what appears to be a set of horns on the creature's head. Some have argued that these could simply be clumps of mud-covered hair sticking up at odd angles, but the image clearly shows a bald, dome-like head with distinct, sharp protrusions. There is no sign of any other hair that might support the idea that these horns are merely a trick of the mud. Furthermore, none of the skeptical explanations account for the most horrifying element of the photograph, the seemingly lifeless body of a child dangling from the creature's arms. Over the years, sporadic reports have emerged of similar sightings in the dense forests and waterways of Bahia. Some locals claim to have witnessed strange figures lurking in the shadows, while others insist that the creature is nothing more than local superstition. However, the region is known for its vast, uncharted wilderness, making it possible for something unknown to remain hidden. Many who have examined the photograph continue to wonder if Bahia harbors something far more sinister than a mere urban legend. With countless people disappearing in the region every year, the mystery of the horned beast remains unsolved, leaving behind a trail of fear and unanswered questions. The mysterious visitor. In 2013, a property listing in Milton, Florida, gained widespread attention after an eerie detail was noticed in one of its promotional photographs. The single-story, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house seemed like an ordinary real estate offering at first glance. However, upon closer inspection, an unsettling feature emerged that left many questioning the nature of the image. Behind the front door, a mysterious apparition appeared to be standing, watching from within. The estate agent who took the photos insisted that she was alone in the house at the time, making the figure's presence all the more baffling. The ghostly figure, which many have described as resembling an adult female, appears faintly in the photograph, almost blending into the background. Some viewers claimed they could make out the shape of a woman's face, partially obscured by shadows, while others pointed to what looked like a flowing dress or long hair. Given that the estate agent was the only person present when the images were taken, the figure's presence defied explanation. The photo quickly made its way across social media, fueling speculation and theories about what the image could truly represent. Paranormal enthusiasts quickly latched onto the idea that the image was evidence of a spirit lingering in the house. Some suggested that the figure could be a former resident, perhaps someone who had passed away in the home and was reluctant to leave. Others theorized that the house might have been built on land with a dark history, leading to an attachment of supernatural energy. Ghost hunters and investigators analyzed the image, with some claiming that the apparition bore all the hallmarks of a classic haunting: translucent, indistinct, and appearing in a place where no living person should have been. Skeptics, however, offered alternative explanations. Some suggested that the figure was nothing more than a trick of the light, or where the human brain interprets random visual patterns as familiar shapes. Others speculated that a reflection in the glass could have created the illusion of a ghostly presence. Despite these rational explanations, the fact remained that the estate agent was certain she had been alone at the time, making it difficult to completely dismiss the image as a simple misunderstanding. The listing eventually faded from the public eye, and the house was sold, but the mystery surrounding the apparition in the doorway remains unsolved. Whether it was an authentic ghostly encounter or simply a case of mistaken perception, the eerie image continues to circulate online, leaving many to wonder if the house in Milton, Florida, was home to something beyond the realm of the living. The mystery of Jean Elizabeth Spangler. Jean Elizabeth Spangler was a rising actress in Hollywood's golden era, known for her small roles as a dancer in various films. However, she is more widely remembered for the baffling circumstances surrounding her disappearance in October 1949. Spangler's case remains one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved mysteries, involving cryptic messages, ties to high-profile figures, and suspicions of foul play. Over 7 decades later, the details of her vanishing continue to intrigue investigators and true crime enthusiasts alike. Born in Seattle, Washington, Spangler moved to Los Angeles as a child and pursued a career in acting. She gained minor success in Hollywood, appearing as an extra in films and occasionally working as a dancer. Despite her professional aspirations, Spangler's personal life was tumultuous. She had gone through a bitter divorce from Dexter Benner, with whom she shared custody of their young daughter, Christine. The contentious relationship between Spangler and her ex-husband played a significant role in the theories that later emerged about her disappearance. On the evening of October 7, 1949, Spangler left her home in Los Angeles, telling her sister-in-law, Sophie, that she was going to meet Benner to discuss a late child support payment. She also mentioned that she had a night shoot for a film and would likely be working late. Her mother, Florence, was out of town visiting relatives in Kentucky, leaving Sophie to care for Christine in her absence. That night, Spangler called home and informed Sophie that she would be working the full 8-hour shift and might not return until the morning. This was the last known contact anyone had with her. The following day, when Spangler failed to return home, Sophie grew concerned and reported her missing. The police investigation revealed discrepancies in her story. None of the film studios had her scheduled for work that night. Additionally, Benner claimed he had not seen Spangler for weeks, an alibi that was corroborated by his new wife, Lynn Lasky Benner. Despite his troubled history with Spangler, investigators found no evidence linking him to her disappearance. 2 days after Spangler vanished, her purse was discovered in a remote area of Griffith Park, a vast wilderness area in Los Angeles. The purse's straps were torn, suggesting a struggle, but its contents remained mostly intact. Inside was an unfinished handwritten note addressed to someone named Kirk, which read, "Kirk, can't wait any longer. Going to see Dr. Scott. It will work best this way while Mother is away." The note's cryptic message sparked countless theories, particularly about Spangler's possible involvement in an illegal abortion, which was a dangerous and criminalized practice at the time. One of the most compelling theories involves Hollywood actor Kirk Douglas, who was starring in Young Man with a Horn, a film in which Spangler had recently worked as an extra. When news of the note broke, Douglas called the police to clear his name, stating he was in Palm Springs at the time of her disappearance. Authorities accepted his alibi, and no formal connection was ever established between the two. Some speculate that the Kirk in the note may have referred to a different person entirely, possibly a secret romantic partner. Another theory links Spangler's disappearance to her alleged associations with organized crime. Reports surfaced that she had been romantically involved with several men connected to the Los Angeles underworld. Given the torn condition of her purse and the remote location where it was found, some believe she may have been taken and silenced by criminals. However, no solid evidence ever surfaced to substantiate this theory. The mention of Dr. Scott in her note also raised suspicions. Some investigators believe that Spangler was pregnant and seeking an illegal abortion, which could have gone tragically wrong. If she had indeed visited an underground abortion provider, she may have died as a result of medical complications, and those responsible may have disposed of her to avoid legal consequences. Despite efforts to track down this supposed Dr. Scott, no definitive leads ever materialized. Over the years, various alleged sightings of Spangler have been reported, but none have been confirmed. One of the most notable claims came from a woman who believed she saw Spangler in Texas, but authorities were unable to verify her identity. Without any concrete evidence or additional discoveries, Spangler's case eventually went cold. To this day, Jean Spangler's fate remains unknown. Whether she was the victim of a crime, a botched medical procedure, or something else entirely, the circumstances surrounding her disappearance continue to be one of Hollywood's most perplexing mysteries. The unanswered questions and eerie details of her case, particularly the ambiguous note left in her purse, continue to fuel speculation. Without new evidence or a witness coming forward, the truth about what happened to Jean Spangler may forever remain hidden in the shadows of Hollywood's past. The mystery of England's ancient tunnels. The ancient tunnels of England, particularly those found in Cornwall, remain one of the most enduring historical mysteries. These tunnels, known as fogus, a term derived from the Cornish word for cave, date back approximately 2,400 years and are believed to have been constructed during the Iron Age. Despite extensive archaeological research, scholars remain puzzled as to why these subterranean structures were built and what purpose they served. The mysterious nature of these tunnels has given rise to numerous theories, yet none have been conclusively proven. Cornwall, located in the southwest part of England, is known for its dramatic coastlines, picturesque landscapes, and ancient history. It is home to over a dozen fogus, some of which are hidden away from the well-trodden tourist paths. These tunnels, nestled within a land shaped by generations of agricultural activity, are remnants of an ancient world that remains largely unexplained. While Cornwall is famous for its Bronze Age barrows, stone circles, and historical landmarks, its underground passageways are among the most perplexing relics of the past. The tunnels are characterized by their narrow, winding structures, typically lined with stone slabs and covered with earth. Some of them extend for several meters underground, while others branch into multiple chambers. Unlike typical storage or defensive structures of the time, these tunnels exhibit an unusual design that does not align with conventional uses. Their purpose has been debated for centuries, with theories ranging from practical storage spaces to places of ritual significance. One of the prevailing theories suggests that the cave may have served as hiding places during times of conflict. The Iron Age was a period of tribal warfare, and it is possible that these tunnels were constructed as refuges where people could escape from raiding parties. However, this theory has been called into question due to the lack of evidence supporting their use in warfare. Unlike traditional defensive structures, the caves do not have clear points of entry or exit that would make them effective for concealment. Another suggestion is that these tunnels functioned as food storage areas, similar to the souterrains found in other parts of Europe. In an era before refrigeration, underground spaces would have provided a cool and stable environment for preserving perishable goods. Yet, no significant remnants of food or storage containers have been discovered within them, leading archaeologists to doubt this explanation. The possibility that these tunnels were used for burial purposes has also been considered. Ancient cultures often placed great importance on the treatment of their dead, and underground tombs were common in many early societies. However, excavations have not revealed human remains or funerary artifacts within the caves, making it unlikely that they were constructed for burial rituals. One of the more intriguing theories suggests that the caves were sites of religious or ceremonial significance. The Iron Age was marked by spiritual beliefs deeply connected to nature, and underground spaces were often associated with the underworld or divine forces. Some researchers propose that these tunnels may have been used for sacred rituals, possibly involving seasonal ceremonies or rites of passage. The lack of definitive artifacts, however, makes it difficult to confirm this theory. The design of the caves is particularly unusual, featuring sharp turns, low ceilings, and unexpected dead ends. These elements have led some to believe that they may have been deliberately constructed in a labyrinth-like fashion for symbolic or ritualistic reasons. It is possible that they held a function that is entirely alien to modern understanding, perhaps tied to ancient traditions that have long since been forgotten. Despite numerous archaeological digs, no single explanation has provided a satisfactory answer to the mystery of the caves. Each theory has its strengths and weaknesses, yet none fully account for the tunnel's design, construction, and placement within the landscape. The absence of written records from the Iron Age further complicates the search for answers, leaving much of their history to speculation. In the modern era, the caves continue to fascinate historians, archaeologists, and visitors alike. They stand as silent witnesses to a past that remains largely mysterious, their true purpose buried beneath the weight of time. While technology and research methods continue to evolve, the mystery of Cornwall's ancient tunnels persists, inviting curiosity and wonder about the secrets they may still hold. The mystery of the San Diego orb. In the annals of modern UFO sightings, certain cases stand out not only for the strangeness of the events, but also for the unsettling consequences that follow. One such case involves a Department of Defense employee who reportedly witnessed and photographed a metallic sphere hovering above San Diego in 2014. The clear images captured during this sighting were submitted to prominent UFO research organizations, including the Mutual UFO Network and the National UFO Reporting Center. However, shortly after these photographs were published online, the witness mysteriously disappeared, adding a layer of intrigue and fear to an already mysterious event. The sighting occurred on a clear day in the summer of 2014, when a Department of Defense employee, who has remained anonymous for security reasons, observed an unusual object in the sky above San Diego. The object, described as a metallic sphere, was reportedly hovering silently at a considerable altitude. The sphere appeared to reflect the sunlight, indicating a smooth, reflective surface, and it remained stationary for several minutes, before suddenly accelerating and disappearing at an incredible speed. The witness, who was familiar with various types of aircraft due to their employment, immediately recognized that the object did not resemble any known military or civilian craft. Its spherical shape, lack of visible propulsion system, and sudden disappearance were all features that distinguished it from anything the witness had encountered in their professional capacity. The employee managed to capture several high-quality images of the metallic sphere using a digital camera. These images clearly show a round, reflective object against the blue sky, with no apparent wings, engines, or other features typically associated with conventional aircraft. The photographs were taken from different angles, providing multiple perspectives of the sphere's shape and appearance. Recognizing the potential significance of the sighting, the witness decided to submit the images to the Mutual UFO Network and the National UFO Reporting Center, two of the most reputable organizations dedicated to investigating and documenting UFO sightings. Both organizations received the images and classified the case as highly credible, noting the clarity of the photographs and the reliability of the witness, given their background in defense. Shortly after the images were submitted to the organizations, they were published on various online platforms, including the official websites of the organizations and several UFO enthusiast forums. The photographs quickly gained attention due to their unusual clarity and the credibility of the witness. Discussions erupted across the internet, with many speculating about the origin of the metallic sphere and whether it could be evidence of extraterrestrial technology or a highly classified military project. While some skeptics suggested that the object might be a weather balloon, drone, or other mundane explanation, the quality of the images and the witness's testimony made such explanations seem inadequate to many observers. The sighting was soon hailed as one of the most compelling UFO cases of the year. As the images circulated online, something far more disturbing occurred. The employee who had witnessed and photographed the sphere suddenly disappeared. According to reports, the witness was last seen shortly after the photographs were published, and although they allegedly did interviews and made various comments about the incident, in recent years they haven't been seen. Many have questioned whether this is because they worked for the Department of Defense. The relationship between the United States Department of Defense and unidentified flying objects has long been a subject of public fascination, speculation, and controversy. Over the decades, the Department of Defense has played a pivotal role in investigating, documenting, and at times seemingly obscuring information related to UFO sightings and encounters. From the early days to recent revelations about secretive programs, the Department of Defense's involvement with unidentified objects reveals a complex interplay of national security concerns, scientific inquiry, and public transparency. Despite extensive searches and investigations, no trace of the individual was found. The disappearance has led to widespread speculation and concern, with some suggesting that the witness may have been silenced by governmental or other clandestine forces. The timing of the disappearance, so soon after the release of the photographs, has only fueled these suspicions. Those familiar with the case have pointed out that whistleblowers and individuals who come forward with sensitive information often face significant risks, particularly when the information pertains to national security or potentially classified technology. One of the most common theories surrounding the disappearance is that it was part of a government cover-up. The metallic sphere, if indeed an advanced technology not publicly known, could have been part of a secret military program or an unidentified craft of extraterrestrial origin. If the latter, the implications would be enormous, potentially affecting national security, public perception, and even global politics. In this context, the disappearance of the witness might have been an attempt to prevent further information from leaking or to send a message to others who might consider coming forward with similar evidence. The idea of government agencies suppressing UFO-related information is not new and has been a recurring theme in UFO lore for decades. The mysterious disappearance of the Department of Defense employee fits neatly into this narrative, reinforcing the belief that powerful entities will go to great lengths to keep certain information hidden. Another, more speculative theory is that the disappearance was somehow related to the object itself. Some proponents of this idea suggest that the metallic sphere might have been advanced in origin and that the witness's disappearance was the result of direct intervention by the beings controlling the craft. The disappearance of the employee remains unresolved, adding a layer of mystery to an already perplexing UFO case. The photographs of the metallic sphere continue to circulate online, serving as a reminder of the sighting and the questions it raises. However, without the testimony or further input from the witness, much about the event remains unknown. The case of the metallic sphere above San Diego exemplifies the challenges and dangers that can arise when individuals encounter and attempt to share evidence of unexplained phenomena. Whether the witness's disappearance was the result of foul play, a government intervention, or something else entirely, it underscores the risks associated with challenging the status quo and bringing potentially disruptive information to light. As of right now, the sighting of the metallic sphere above San Diego and the subsequent disappearance of the witness are a stark reminder of how little we truly understand about the universe and the potential forces at play. Mysterious trail camera image. A mysterious trail camera photograph has captured the imagination of many, showing what appears to be the apparition of a child standing just inches away from a deer. The unsettling image has sparked widespread debate, as many people have questioned how the figure was able to get so close to a wild deer without causing it to flee. In the darkness of the woods, under normal circumstances, a deer would be highly alert to any movement or presence nearby. This eerie photograph, however, defies logic, leaving many to wonder if the person captured in the image is something beyond the realm of the living. Wild deer are naturally skittish animals with a highly developed sense of hearing and smell. Even in daylight, a human attempting to approach a deer would typically be detected long before they could get within a few feet. At night, when the forest is quiet and every sound is magnified, sneaking up on a deer without causing it to react is nearly impossible. Most deer have a flight distance of 50 to 100 yards before they feel threatened and bolt away. This makes the photograph even more perplexing. How could a childlike figure be standing completely still, only inches away from the deer, without the animal showing any signs of fear? The childlike figure in the image appears slightly translucent, its form faintly illuminated by the camera's infrared flash. Some viewers have described the figure as having an unnatural stillness, almost as if it were not truly part of the physical world. Unlike a living person who would likely have made some noise or movement which would have startled the deer, this apparition-like entity remains motionless. The deer itself does not appear alarmed, further adding to the eerie nature of the image. This has led many to speculate that the figure in the photograph is a ghost, possibly the spirit of a child who once wandered these woods long ago. Over the years, trail cameras have captured a number of unexplained phenomena, from mysterious orbs to shadowy figures lurking in the background. However, this particular image stands out because of the strange interaction between the ghostly figure and the deer. Ghost stories and legends of spirits haunting remote wooded areas are common, and many believe that certain places hold residual energy from past events. Could it be possible that this ghostly child is somehow bound to the area, appearing only when conditions are just right to be caught on camera? Others believe that a technical glitch or a trick of light could be responsible for the ghostly appearance. However, these explanations fail to address the biggest mystery. Why did the deer remain completely undisturbed? If the figure were a living person, their presence would have almost certainly scared the deer away. The photograph has since become a subject of intense debate, with many believing that it offers rare visual proof of the paranormal. While there may never be a definitive answer to what was captured that night, the image remains a chilling reminder that the woods can hold secrets beyond our understanding. The mysterious disappearance of Joan Webster. Joan Webster's disappearance remains one of the most baffling and unsettling mysteries in Massachusetts history. A bright and ambitious architecture student at Harvard University, Joan had just returned to Boston after spending Thanksgiving weekend with her family in Glen Ridge, New Jersey. On November 28, 1981, she boarded a flight from Newark to Logan International Airport. That was the last time her family would see her alive. When Joan arrived in Boston, she was seen at the baggage carousel, but what happened after remains unclear. 3 days later, authorities officially listed her as missing. Almost immediately, evidence of foul play began to surface. Her purse and wallet were discovered in a marsh in Saugus, Massachusetts, a troubling sign that she may have met with danger. Even more disturbing was the discovery of her suitcase in a Boston bus station locker. These findings suggested that someone had deliberately removed and disposed of her belongings, reinforcing the growing belief that Joan had been taken. As the investigation continued, law enforcement officials pursued multiple leads, but none brought them any closer to finding Joan. In February 1983, a breakthrough seemed imminent when a prison inmate came forward with information. He claimed that Joan had been struck over the head. While this was a chilling revelation, it did not immediately lead to the recovery of her remains or the apprehension of her perpetrator. For nearly a decade, Joan's fate remained unknown. The media covered her disappearance extensively, and the case remained in the public eye. Theories and speculations circulated, with some suggesting she had been taken by a serial offender, while others believed she had fallen victim to an opportunistic crime. Despite the high visibility of her case, no one seemed to have definitive answers. Finally, in April 1990, nearly 9 years after Joan vanished, her remains were found in a shallow grave in a wooded area of Hamilton, Massachusetts. The discovery was grim. Joan's skull bore evidence of trauma inflicted by a blunt instrument, confirming that she had been attacked. However, even with this crucial piece of evidence, the identity of her perpetrator remained unknown. The revelation of her remains reignited interest in the case, but despite renewed investigative efforts, authorities were unable to close it. The Suffolk District Attorney's Office, along with various law enforcement agencies, struggled to piece together what had truly happened to Joan Webster. The details of her final moments remained shrouded in mystery, and those responsible for her death evaded justice. More than 3 decades later, Joan's case continues to be the subject of speculation and debate. The inconsistencies in the official explanations have led many to believe that critical information has either been overlooked or intentionally concealed. Some researchers and journalists continue to analyze the case, hoping to uncover new leads or expose mistakes in the original investigation. Her family has never stopped seeking answers, longing for closure that has remained elusive. The uncertainty surrounding her final hours only deepens the tragedy of her story. Joan Webster was a promising young woman with a bright future, and her life was cruelly cut short by an unknown assailant. The case remains open, with investigators still hoping for new evidence to surface. Advances in forensic technology have solved many cold cases in recent years, And perhaps one day, new techniques will provide long-awaited answers about what truly happened to Joan Webster. Until then, her case remains an unsettling mystery, a haunting reminder of how quickly a life can be stolen and how some crimes continue to defy resolution. The mysterious case of Monique Figueroa. The disappearance of Monique Figueroa remains one of the most perplexing and heartbreaking missing persons cases in California. Monique Michelle Figueroa, born on May 11, 1987, vanished without a trace in May 2015, leaving behind her young daughter and a father desperate for answers. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance are riddled with unanswered questions, suspicious details, and ominous clues that have failed to lead authorities to a resolution. On May 19, 2015, Monique left her father's home in Little Rock around 4 in the morning, telling him she was heading to visit friends in the Florence area of Los Angeles. Her father, Jeff Figueroa, was accustomed to Monique's independent lifestyle, but something about this particular trip would soon prove to be different. The following day, Jeff received a cryptic text from his daughter that read, "Had to leave. Love you. Be back soon." This was the last known communication from Monique, and despite the reassurances in her message, she never returned home. Concerned by his daughter's sudden silence, Jeff reported her missing on May 23, 2015, when he was unable to contact her. The search for Monique took a chilling turn on May 30th, when authorities discovered her black 2004 Mercedes-Benz abandoned in a rural area of Juniper Hills, approximately 7 miles from her home. The condition of the vehicle suggested foul play. It bore scratches, handprints, and other signs of struggle. It also appeared to have run off the road before it was deliberately placed in the field where it was found. The disturbing scene raised immediate concerns that Monique had not simply left on her own accord, but had met with danger. In July 2015, hope for answers briefly surfaced when one of Monique's friends received an incoming call from her missing phone. However, when the friend attempted to call back, there was no response. The phone was subsequently shut off, leaving investigators puzzled as to who had possession of it and whether Monique was still alive at the time of the call. The eerie nature of this event only deepened the mystery surrounding her case. A year later, in June 2016, law enforcement received an anonymous tip claiming that Monique had been slain and that her remains were buried in a remote area off Pear Blossom Highway in Palmdale. This tip prompted an extensive search involving cadaver dogs and heavy digging equipment, but no remains were found. The failure to recover any physical evidence left authorities and Monique's loved ones at a frustrating standstill. Monique was a devoted mother and an active member of her community. She attended Little Rock High School, where she served as the manager for the varsity wrestling and baseball teams. She was known for her dedication, having received a trophy for perfect attendance at Sunday church services. Her commitment to family and friends made her disappearance all the more baffling, as those who knew her did not believe she would willingly abandon her life, especially her young daughter. For her father, Jeff Figueroa, the years since Monique's disappearance have been an unrelenting nightmare. He has remained steadfast in his search for answers, refusing to let his daughter's case fade into obscurity. Despite the lack of leads, he continues to pursue justice and hopes that someone will come forward with crucial information. The emotional toll of not knowing what happened to Monique has weighed heavily on him, but his determination has not wavered. A $20,000 reward remains outstanding for information leading to Monique's whereabouts or details regarding her disappearance. Authorities urge anyone with knowledge of the case to come forward, hoping that even the smallest detail might provide a breakthrough. The lack of closure has left Monique's family and friends in a state of perpetual grief, yearning for resolution to a case that has haunted them for nearly a decade. Monique Figueroa's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery, but her story is not forgotten. As the years pass, her family continues to seek justice, and the unanswered questions surrounding her fate linger in the minds of those who still hope for the truth. Whether she was the victim of foul play, betrayal, or something more sinister, the search for Monique endures, driven by the love of a father who refuses to give up on his daughter. The mystery of the Mahamba. In the heart of Africa's deepest and most mysterious rivers and lakes, tales of a colossal crocodile known as Mahamba have persisted for generations. This enormous reptile, said to reach lengths of up to 50 feet, has been a subject of fear and fascination among local populations. Despite skepticism from the scientific community, the consistency of eyewitness accounts and the cultural significance of Mamba suggest that this creature may be real and genuine. The legend of Mamba is deeply rooted in the folklore and oral traditions of various African tribes, particularly those living near the Congo River Basin and Lake Tanganyika. According to these traditions, Mamba is a giant, fearsome crocodile that dwarfs even the largest known Nile crocodiles. Descriptions of Mamba consistently depict it as an extraordinary creature, with some accounts suggesting it is nearly twice the length of the largest recorded crocodiles, making it a formidable presence in the waters it inhabits. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for Mahamba's existence comes from the numerous eyewitness accounts by local fishermen, villagers, and explorers. These accounts often describe encounters with an enormous crocodile that defies conventional expectations. Fishermen recount harrowing stories of their boats being overturned by a massive force beneath the water, only to catch glimpses of a gargantuan crocodile swimming away. Such encounters have instilled a deep-seated fear and respect for Mamba among those who live near its purported habitat. In the early 20th century, Belgian colonists in the Congo Free State reported sightings of an exceptionally large crocodile in the Congo River. These reports were documented in colonial records, adding a layer of historical credibility to the Mamba legend. The colonists, who had no cultural or mythological ties to Mamba, were nonetheless struck by the sheer size of the creature they described, which aligns closely with the descriptions provided by indigenous people. Additionally, the discovery of prehistoric crocodile fossils provides a plausible scientific basis for Mahamba's existence. Crocodiliforms, such as Sarcosuchus, which lived during the Cretaceous period, reached lengths of up to 40 feet or more. These ancient crocodiles demonstrate that the genetic potential for gigantism exists within the Crocodilidae family. It is conceivable that a remnant population of such colossal crocodiles could have survived in the remote and largely unexplored waterways of Central Africa, giving rise to the Mamba legend. The remoteness and inaccessibility of Mahamba's purported habitat further support the possibility of its existence. The dense jungles, vast swamps, and deep river systems of the Congo Basin are among the least explored regions on Earth. This isolation provides an ideal environment for a large, elusive predator to thrive without being discovered by modern science. Moreover, the scarcity of comprehensive scientific expeditions in these regions means that many species, especially large aquatic predators, could remain undocumented. If Mamba is indeed real, its discovery would have profound implications for our understanding of crocodilian biology and the limits of natural growth in reptiles. It would challenge current assumptions about the maximum size of modern crocodiles and offer new insights into the evolutionary adaptations that allow such creatures to reach and sustain such enormous sizes. Additionally, the existence of Mamba would underscore the importance of preserving the natural habitats that harbor these hidden giants, as they play a crucial role in maintaining the ecological balance of their ecosystems. Furthermore, recognizing Mamba as a genuine species would validate the knowledge and experiences of the indigenous people who have coexisted with this formidable predator for generations. It would highlight the value of integrating traditional ecological knowledge with scientific research, fostering a more inclusive and respectful approach to understanding and conserving biodiversity. Local communities, with their deep connection to the land and its creatures, are invaluable partners in the search for and protection of such elusive species. In recent years, advancements in technology have provided new tools for investigating the Mamba phenomenon. High-resolution satellite imagery, drones, and underwater cameras offer the potential to explore and document remote regions with unprecedented precision. Collaborative efforts between scientists, local communities, and conservation organizations could help to systematically search for evidence of Mamba, providing a clearer understanding of its nature and habits. The Inuma Monen. This mysterious creature, often described as a colossal serpentine reptile, is said to inhabit the remote rivers and swamps of the region. Despite its elusive nature and the skepticism of the scientific community, numerous eyewitness accounts and consistent descriptions suggest that the Inuma Monen may be real and genuine. One of the most compelling aspects of the Inuma Monen legend is the consistency of eyewitness reports. Local fishermen, villagers, and hunters have recounted numerous encounters with the creature over the years, describing similar features and behaviors. Many of these accounts come from individuals who have spent their entire lives in the region and are intimately familiar with its wildlife, lending credibility to their testimonies. The Inuma Monen is often reported to be an aggressive predator, capable of capsizing boats and attacking large animals, further emphasizing its imposing presence in the local ecosystem. There are 3 documented testimonies of sightings that occurred along the Dongu Mataba, which is a tributary of the Ubangi River in the Republic of the Congo. The initial occurrence took place in 1961, followed by a further event 10 years later in 1971, led by Pastor Joseph Ellis. The individual approximated the length of the visible portion of the tail to be 10 meters or 30 feet, which was equivalent to the size of his dugout. No neck or head were visible. The diameter of the tail was judged to be between 0.5 and 1 meter. The color was characterized as a shade of gray with a hint of brown. Upon returning to the community, it became evident that the topic was considered forbidden or prohibited. University of Chicago biologist Roy P. McCall collected these and other observations during his 2 journeys to the Likwala marshes in the Republic of the Congo, where he was specifically looking for the Mokele Mbembe. McCall's analysis determined that the creature possesses a body that is close to the ground, making it more similar to a lizard rather than a snake. This conclusion was based on Ellis's assertion that the animal never elevated itself significantly after emerging from the water. The mysterious Agogue. Described as a small, hairy, and elusive hominid, the Agogue has captivated the imaginations of locals and explorers alike. Despite skepticism from mainstream science, the consistency and credibility of eyewitness accounts suggest that the Agogue may be real and genuine. The name Agogue refers to a small, bipedal creature reported to inhabit the forests of Tanzania and Mozambique. According to local legends and testimonies, the Agogue stands approximately 3 to 4 feet tall, covered in reddish-brown or yellowish hair. Its physical appearance is strikingly similar to that of a small, primitive human, with long arms, a rounded forehead, and a pronounced brow ridge. Witnesses describe the humanoid as highly agile and adept at moving through the dense underbrush, making it challenging to observe for extended periods. One of the most compelling aspects of the Agogue legend is the consistency of eyewitness reports. Local villagers, hunters, and even colonial administrators have recounted numerous encounters with the creature over the years, describing similar features and behaviors. These accounts come from individuals who are intimately familiar with the region's wildlife, lending credibility to their testimonies. The creature is often reported to exhibit cautious and elusive behavior, avoiding human contact whenever possible, which may explain the lack of physical evidence. A notable encounter occurred in the early 20th century when Captain William Hitchens, a British colonial officer, reported seeing the Agogue while on a hunting expedition in Tanzania. Hitchens described the creature as a small, human-like figure covered in hair, moving swiftly through the forest. His account was later published in the journal Discovery in 1937, sparking widespread interest and debate about the existence of the Agogue. Hitchens' detailed and credible description added significant weight to the legend, as it came from a respected and experienced observer. Further supporting evidence comes from local art and cultural traditions. Indigenous communities in East Africa have long depicted small, human-like creatures in their carvings, paintings, and folklore. These representations, which bear striking similarities to the descriptions of the Agogue, suggest that the creature has been a part of the local cultural consciousness for generations. Such continuity in cultural depictions indicates that the Agogue is more than a mere myth. It is a deeply ingrained part of the region's heritage and natural history. The dense, remote, and largely unexplored habitats of East Africa provide a plausible environment for a small, elusive hominid to exist undetected by modern science. The region's vast forests and jungles are among the least explored areas on Earth, offering ample hiding places for a creature like the Agogue. The difficulty of conducting thorough scientific investigations in such challenging environments means that many species, particularly small and elusive ones, could remain undocumented. Moreover, the discovery of previously unknown species in similar remote regions lends credence to the possibility of the Agogue's existence. In recent years, Several new species of primates, mammals, and reptiles have been discovered in East Africa, underscoring the region's potential to harbour undiscovered creatures. These findings suggest that the natural world still holds many secrets, and the Agogue could be one of them. The Lydenburg heads. The collection of 7 ceramic skulls was given the name of the location where they were found in the eastern Transvaal region of South Africa. The use of radiocarbon dating on charcoal samples retrieved from the excavation site has determined that the heads were interred at that location around in 500 AD, thereby establishing them as the most ancient African Iron Age artworks discovered south of the equator. The reconstructed heads are not exactly the same, but they do possess certain common features. The strips of clay are shaped into thin oval eyes, slightly protruding mouths, noses, and ears, with raised bands that decorate the faces. The backs of the heads are embellished with carved linear designs. The columnar necks are characterized by prominent grooved bands. Many African peoples consider necks adorned with fat as a symbol of wealth and continue to hold this belief. Nevertheless, the lack of substantial knowledge about the ancient culture responsible for creating the Lydenburg heads makes it currently unattainable to determine if the rings on them were intended to be interpreted in this manner. The 2 largest heads could have functioned as helmet masks. The larger heads can be distinguished from the smaller ones by the presence of animal figurines on their summits and the small clay spheres that create the illusion of elevated hairlines. The animals, previously concealed by a thick layer, are now challenging to recognize but possess circular faces that evoke the image of a lion's mane. The 5 smaller heads share similarities, save for one that features an animal face with a protruding snout. These skulls are too small to have been worn as helmets. They all feature small holes on either side of their lowest neck rings, which may have been utilized for attachment purposes. Due to several factors, there is speculation that the heads were utilized in initiation rituals, and there is even a possibility that they were worn. Specularite, a type of hematite characterized by its lustrous appearance when rotated, was deliberately positioned on the masks within incisions and elevated regions like the eyebrows. This has been referenced as a potential evidence that the heads were utilized in public rituals, since their shimmering effect would have been strikingly noticeable when they were moved in the presence of light. The presence of perforations in the 5 smaller heads and the larger size of the 2 remaining heads may suggest that these ceramic heads served as masks worn during different ceremonial occasions. Unfortunately, it is impossible to have definite knowledge about any of this. The utilization and significance of the heads still remain a subject of speculation. However, it is evident from the intentional way in which the heads were buried that regardless of their importance, they were regarded with enough reverence to be carefully laid to rest. Although the structures exhibit sophisticated designs and are rich in archaeological intricacies, the exact creators of these monuments remain unknown. There is a belief that the Iron Age Bantu-speaking people, who were a diverse collection of pastoral tribes across Africa, initially utilized these artifacts for religious purposes. While it is possible that this statement is accurate, it is important to note that our knowledge about them is quite limited as well. Presently, the Bantu consist of various separate groups and tribes, each with unique cultural attributes. Great Zimbabwe Ruins. The remains of Great Zimbabwe, believed by an ancient tale to have been the capital of the Queen of Sheba, serve as a remarkable testament to the Bantu civilization of the Shona people from the 11th to the 15th century. The city, spanning an area of around 80 hectares, held significant prominence as a trading hub and gained widespread recognition starting from the Middle Ages. Situated in a sparsely populated Bantu Shona region, the Great Zimbabwe National Monument is situated in the Lowveld at an elevation of roughly 1,100 meters, approximately 30 kilometers from Masvingo. The property, constructed from 1100 to 1450 AD, spans about 800 hectares and is categorized into 3 sections: the hill ruins, the great enclosure, and the valley ruins. The massive granite outcrop known as the hill ruins, which face both northeast and southwest, was constantly occupied from the 11th to the 15th century, and multiple layers of remnants of human dwellings can be found there. The enclosures are formed from rough granite rubble stone blocks, which can be entered by small corridors that are partially covered. The Acropolis is commonly regarded as a royal city. The western enclosure is believed to have housed successive leaders, while the eastern enclosure, where 6 steatite upright poles adorned with birds were discovered, is likely to have served a ceremonial function. Located south of the hills and built in the 14th century, the great enclosure is shaped like an ellipsis. The structure was constructed using precisely cut granite blocks arranged in uniform layers. It comprises a sequence of daga hut residences, a communal space, and a short corridor that leads to a tall conical tower. The bricks, known as daga, were manufactured using a blend of granitic sand and clay. Within the stone enclosure walls, huts were constructed. Inside the communal area, further walls delineate each family's space, often consisting of a kitchen, 2 dwelling huts, and a courtyard. The 19th century dwelling ensembles dispersed across the valley are known as the Valley Ruins. Every ensemble shares common features, such as the use of brick in various constructions, huts, inside flooring and seats, holders for receivers and basins, and the use of dry stone masonry walls to provide insulation for each ensemble. The construction work exhibited a remarkable level of skill and artistry, reminiscent of later advancements in the Stone Age. It had intricate wall decorations adorned with chevron and checkered patterns. Based on scientific research, it has been established that the Shona, a Bantu population from the Iron Age, inhabited the location sparingly throughout prehistoric times. This Bantu population created Great Zimbabwe in the 11th century. During the 14th century, this city served as the main urban center of a significant state that encompassed the gold-rich plateaus. The population of the city surpassed 10,000 residents. By approximately 1450, the capital was deserted due to the inability of the surrounding area to provide enough food for the densely populated city and the extensive depletion of forests. The subsequent movement proved advantageous for Kami, as it emerged as the dominant city in the area, but also indicated a decline in political authority. In 1505, the Portuguese established a settlement in Sofala, which was formally divided between the competing kingdoms of Torwa and Mwenimutapa. The magnitude of long-standing trade with the outside world has been attested to by the discovery of gold and Arab coins from Kilwa, as well as glass beads and porcelain from China and Persia during archaeological investigations. Additional evidence, such as fragments of pottery and items made of iron, provides greater understanding of the property's socio-economic intricacy and the practices of farming and herding. The presence of a colossal granite cross at a historically valued and important spiritual site serves as evidence of the community's interaction with missionaries. However, our knowledge regarding these remnants is limited. European travelers in the late 19th century were the first to document them, with some speculating that they were created by a long-lost white civilization. The notion has subsequently been discredited, and the inquiry into the creators of Great Zimbabwe and their origins continues to be a matter of contention. There is a scholarly debate on the origins of the builders of the structure. Some say that they were indigenous, specifically from the Bantu-speaking Shona tribe. On the other hand, some propose that they were migrants who came from either the coastal regions or North Africa. The Mamba Mutu. In the depths of Lake Tanganyika, the world's second oldest and second deepest freshwater lake, nestled between the borders of Tanzania, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Burundi, and Zambia, lies a mystery that has captivated the imaginations of local populations and intrigued researchers worldwide. The Mamba Mutu. Described as a mermaid-like creature, the Mamba Mutu is said to inhabit the lake's vast, uncharted waters. Despite skepticism from the scientific community, the consistency and credibility of eyewitness accounts suggest that the Mamba Mutu may be real and genuine. The name Mamba Mutu translates to water person in the local languages, reflecting the creature's human-like appearance. According to local legends and testimonies, the Mamba Mutu is described as having the upper body of a human, complete with arms and a head, but with the lower body of a fish, featuring scales and a powerful tail. Witnesses report that the creature's skin is often a shimmering, iridescent hue, and it possesses long, flowing hair that cascades down its back. The Mamba Mutu is said to be an elusive and intelligent being, capable of communicating with humans and possessing a deep understanding of the lake's ecosystem. One of the most compelling aspects of the Mamba Mutu legend is the consistency of eyewitness reports. Fishermen, villagers, and travelers have recounted numerous encounters with the creature over the years, describing similar features and behaviors. These accounts come from individuals who are intimately familiar with the region's wildlife, lending credibility to their testimonies. The Mamba Mutu is often reported to exhibit cautious and elusive behavior, surfacing only occasionally and avoiding prolonged human contact, which may explain the lack of physical evidence. A notable encounter occurred in the early 20th century when Belgian colonial officer Captain William Hitchens reported seeing a mermaid-like creature while on a boat in Lake Tanganyika. Hitchens described the creature as having a human-like face and upper body, with a fish-like tail. His account was later published, sparking widespread interest and debate about the existence of the Mamba Mutu. Hitchens' detailed and credible description added significant weight to the legend, as it came from a respected and experienced observer. Further supporting evidence comes from local art and cultural traditions. Indigenous communities around Lake Tanganyika have long depicted mermaid-like creatures in their carvings, paintings, and folklore. These representations, which bear striking similarities to the descriptions of the Mamba Mutu, suggest that the creature has been a part of the local cultural consciousness for generations. Such continuity in cultural depictions indicates that the Mamba Mutu is more than a mere myth. It is a deeply ingrained part of the region's heritage and natural history. The vast, remote, and largely unexplored habitat of Lake Tanganyika provides a plausible environment for a large, elusive aquatic creature to exist undetected by modern science. The lake's immense depth and complex underwater topography offer ample hiding places for a creature like the Mamba Mutu. The difficulty of conducting thorough scientific investigations in such challenging environments means that many species, particularly large and elusive ones, could remain undocumented. Moreover, the discovery of previously unknown aquatic species in similar remote regions lends credence to the possibility of the creature's existence. In recent years, several new species of fish and invertebrates have been discovered in Lake Tanganyika, underscoring the region's potential to harbour undiscovered creatures. And these findings suggest that the natural world still holds many secrets, and the Mamba Mutu could be one of them. The implications of discovering the Mamba Mutu would be profound, both scientifically and culturally. From a scientific perspective, the existence of such a mermaid-like creature would revolutionize our understanding of aquatic biodiversity and evolutionary biology. It would prompt new research into the evolutionary history and ecological role of mermaid-like beings, potentially leading to discoveries about their behavior, diet, and interactions with other species. Culturally, validating the existence of the Mamba Mutu would honor the knowledge and experiences of the indigenous people who have long reported its presence. It would highlight the importance of integrating traditional ecological knowledge with scientific research, fostering a more inclusive and respectful approach to studying and conserving biodiversity. Local communities, with their deep connection to the land and its creatures, are invaluable partners in the search for and protection of such elusive species. In recent years, advancements in technology have provided new tools for investigating the Mamba Mutu phenomenon. High-resolution sonar, underwater cameras, and remotely operated vehicles offer the potential to explore and document the depths of Lake Tanganyika with unprecedented precision. Collaborative efforts between scientists, local communities, and conservation organizations could help to systematically search for evidence of the Mamba Mutu, providing a clearer understanding of its nature and habits. Who created the Debose giraffes? Debose is situated in the northeastern region of Niger, near the convergence of the Tenere Desert and the foothills of the Air Mountains. The territory has been included in the Trans-Saharan caravan trade route, which has been travelled by the Tuareg people for more than 2,000 years. However, archaeological findings indicate that the area has been inhabited for far longer, with evidence of settlement extending back 8,000 years. In recent times, its remarkable rock art has gained recognition from a broader global audience. In 1987, French archaeologist Christian Dupuy discovered 2 extraordinary life-size engravings of giraffes that have attracted significant attention due to their impressive size, lifelike appearance, and skilled execution. The 2 giraffes, believed to be a dominant male, followed by a petite female, were etched onto the aged facade of a sandstone formation. The larger giraffe has a length of 5.4 meters and is made using several production techniques, including scraping, polishing, and deep etching of the outlines. Every giraffe possesses a carved line that originates from its mouth or nose and winds its way down to a little human form. This motif is a common occurrence in Saharan rock art, however its significance remains a mystery. Interpretations of the line have proposed that it could signify the hunting or domestication of giraffes, or it may represent a religious, mythical, or cultural connection. Additionally, there have been suggestions that the lines and human figures were subsequently added. Although it is evident that significant effort was invested in their creation, the specific identity of the individuals responsible remains unknown. In addition to the giraffes, the Debose site contains a diverse array of carvings encompassing many species of animals, humans, and combinations of humans and animals. Although currently situated in a secluded area of the Sahara Desert, it is likely that the place was once a sprawling savanna when these petroglyphs were originally created. The Casai Rex. Described as a massive, predatory dinosaur-like animal, the Casai Rex is said to roam the isolated wilderness of the Kasai Valley in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Despite the skepticism of mainstream science, the consistency and credibility of eyewitness accounts suggest that the Casai Rex may be real and genuine. The name Casai Rex conjures images of the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex, one of the most fearsome predators of the prehistoric world. According to local legends and testimonies, the Casai Rex closely resembles a large theropod dinosaur with an estimated length of 40 to 50 feet. Witnesses describe the creature as having a massive, muscular body, powerful hind legs, short forelimbs, and a large head with formidable jaws filled with sharp teeth. Its skin is often depicted as rough and scaly, with a coloration that blends seamlessly with the jungle environment. John Johnson, sometimes known as Johansson, was an expert hunter from Sweden. One day in 1932, he and his servant left their camp near Cape Town to go hunting for a large elephant. They traversed a marshy area till they eventually arrived at the savannah, located in the Kasai Valley. The grassland was barren, devoid of any wildlife. However, the servant's excitement abruptly turned into alarm upon spotting 2 elephants, prompting Johnson to prepare his shotgun. Nevertheless, it became apparent that there was an issue with the elephants. There were merely 2, as opposed to a complete herd. Approximately 44 meters off, there was a presence concealed behind the undergrowth observing the elephants with predatory intent. Unexpectedly, a peculiar creature leaped. The servant swiftly descended into the dense vegetation, while Johnson, immobilized by shock, adjusted his target and made the decision to shoot at this peculiar being. The individual discharged their firearm 3 times, with only one projectile successfully striking the beast, namely in its posterior region. The entity retreated and departed. Johnson assisted his servant in rising from the ground and made the decision to return to his camp in Cape Town. However, before proceeding, they needed to traverse the swamp. Upon reaching the midpoint of the marsh, they were startled by a sudden splash, which immediately brought to mind the presence of crocodiles. Johnson searched extensively until they spotted the identical thing they had previously seen in the savannah, devouring the hump of a rhinoceros 22 meters distant. With a single bite, the creature effortlessly severed one of the rhinoceros' legs. Johnson's servant fled in fear, while John remained in place. He promptly considered shooting the beast, but recollected with fear that the servant had confiscated his shotgun. However, he retained possession of his camera and proceeded to capture an image of the creature. In response to the sound of the camera's shutter, the creature swiftly submerged under the lake, while the lifeless body of the rhinoceros remained afloat in a pool of blood. After coming back to the camp, John, trembling and quivering, carried the camera and then fell down. The soldiers present there helped him to stand up. In his interview with the newspaper Rhodesia Herald, he described it as having a reddish hue and blackish stripes. He said that the creature possessed an elongated muzzle and a multitude of teeth. He concluded that the monster, measuring 13 meters or 43 feet in length, was a Tyrannosaurus. Additionally, he remarked that the creature's legs were robust, resembling those of a lion, suggesting that it was adapted for swift movement. In early 1933, a party consisting of 5 hunters, including a notorious ivory smuggler, embarked on a journey to the Casai Valley with the intention of hunting down a creature known as the Casai Rex. This creature, referred to as a colossal crocodile by the Rhodesia Herald newspaper, was sought after for its valuable skin, which the hunters planned to sell at a lucrative price. They reached the Casai Valley and traversed the identical marshland that Johnson had crossed the year before. One of the hunters was alarmed when they observed a crimson tail submerge into the lake. They initially suspected it to be an anaconda, until the ambience grew tense. They prepared their weapons, only to be taken aback by an unexpected deluge of water descending upon them from the left. The crimson appendage forcefully departed from the swamp and collided with one of the hunters, causing them to plunge into the water. The remaining 4 individuals commenced firing a crimson substance that sank beneath the ocean's surface. They observed no discernible objects, only undulating waves of water dispersing throughout the expanse. The incapacitated individual, with a fractured arm, rose and endeavored to approach his comrades. An ominous sound emanated from beneath the water's surface, prompting them to swiftly navigate their way. However, their progress was impeded by a colossal creature emerging from the right side and submerging on the left side. The hunters concealed themselves within a boulder and ultimately departed from the vicinity. The Kongamato. In the dense, verdant jungles and vast subtropical regions of Africa, legends and whispers speak of a formidable creature that has eluded definitive scientific classification: the Kongamato. Described as a large terrasaur-like entity, the Kongamato is said to inhabit remote areas of Zambia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Angola. Despite its status as a cryptid, a creature whose existence is suggested but not yet confirmed by mainstream science, numerous eyewitness accounts and cultural testimonies lend credence to the idea that the Kongamato is real and genuine. The name Kongamato translates to breaker of boats, a moniker that vividly underscores the creature's formidable presence. According to local lore and eyewitness accounts, the Kongamato resembles a prehistoric terrasaur, with an estimated wingspan ranging from 4 to 7 feet. It is often described as having leathery wings, a long beak filled with sharp teeth, and a distinctly reptilian appearance. The creature is said to be aggressive, with reports of it attacking canoes and fishermen on African rivers, lending both terror and mystique to its legend. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for the Kongamato's existence comes from the testimonies of local tribes people who live in the regions where the creature is said to dwell. These communities have long histories of oral traditions and a deep understanding of their natural environments. Their consistent descriptions of the Kongamato, which align closely with the features of a terrasaur, suggest that these accounts are based on genuine sightings rather than myth or folklore. In 1925, Frank H. Melland, a British colonial official and explorer, published In Witchbound Africa, in which he recounted numerous reports of the Kongamato from indigenous people in Zambia. Melland himself collected stories of the creature from the Kayonde people, who feared and revered it. He was particularly struck by the consistency of their descriptions, which matched those of a prehistoric terrasaur, despite the lack of any known terrasaur fossils being discovered in the region at that time. Moreover, European explorers and missionaries have also reported encounters with the Kongamato. In the early 20th century, explorer John G. Millay recorded similar accounts during his travels in Angola. In one particularly striking incident, a local man showed Millay a wound on his chest, claiming it was inflicted by a Kongamato. The wound's nature and the man's detailed description of the attack were enough to convince Millay of the creature's potential reality. Scientific skepticism regarding the existence of the Kongamato primarily hinges on the lack of physical evidence, such as bones or definitive photographic documentation. However, the remoteness and inaccessibility of its purported habitat make it plausible that a large, elusive creature could evade capture or discovery by conventional means. The dense jungles and vast, unexplored regions of Africa provide ample hiding places for a creature adept at avoiding human contact. Additionally, recent discoveries in paleontology have shown that pterosaurs, once thought to have gone extinct 65 million years ago, might have had more resilient and adaptable descendants than previously believed. The notion that a remnant population of these creatures could have survived in isolated pockets of the world is not entirely outside the realm of possibility. If the Kongamato is indeed a living pterosaur, Its discovery would have profound implications for our understanding of evolutionary biology and paleontology. It would challenge existing paradigms about the extinction of dinosaurs and their relatives, suggesting that some lineages might have persisted in isolated environments. Such a discovery would also underscore the importance of preserving the world's remaining wild places, as they may harbor undiscovered species and biological treasures. Furthermore, acknowledging the existence of the Kongamato would validate the knowledge and experiences of indigenous peoples, whose testimonies have often been dismissed or overlooked by mainstream science. It would highlight the value of integrating traditional ecological knowledge with scientific inquiry, fostering a more inclusive and holistic approach to understanding biodiversity. The Untouched Mount Leo. Eastern Africa has a limited amount of primary forest remaining. According to the 2015 data from the Food and Agriculture Association of the United Nations, there are no official records of famine in Mozambique. However, a section of untouched woodland has lately been found and examined in the Zambezia region of the country. It was concealed in an obvious location on the summit of a mountain. The forest was first discovered by conservation expert Julian Bayliss using Google Earth. This is not the first occasion on which he has done so. In 2005, he utilized the platform to discover an unknown rainforest on Mount Mabu in Mozambique. In order to verify the existence of this most recent forest, Bayliss journeyed to the foot of Mount Leo and deployed an unmanned aerial vehicle to reach its summit. In May, Bayliss and a team including around 25 scientists and experts embarked on an excursion to investigate the biodiversity of this elevated island, examining its flora and fauna. They ascended by utilizing ropes and swiftly acquired rock climbing skills to elevate themselves and their gear up the 410-foot vertical cliffs. Bayliss achieved the summit before anyone else. While he awaited the arrival of his teammates, he surveyed his surroundings and experienced a profound feeling of curiosity and enthusiasm. He informed Mongabe that the initial observation that stood out to him was the remarkable silence of the jungle. Nevertheless, numerous animal trails were observed in the dense vegetation, which was highly thrilling. They were immediately impressed by the remarkable openness of the forest floor, indicating minimal disruption and a dense above canopy. During the next fortnight, the crew conducted a comprehensive survey of the majority of Mount Leo's forest. They discovered numerous diverse organisms and have reason to believe that some of them are previously undiscovered species, including a distinct butterfly that has not been documented by science before. Bayliss stated that the comprehensive findings will be disclosed in a forthcoming film, anticipated to be released in the early months of the upcoming year. Mount Leo and other isolated mountains in eastern Africa, known as Inselbergs, were created through the progressive erosion of the surrounding flat. Granite, being a type of hardstone, exhibits greater resistance to erosion. Consequently, while the surrounding soil eroded over millions of years, these areas of hardstone endured and gradually transformed into striking monoliths. Over time, their elevation increased to the point where they had the ability to impact the regional weather by generating clouds and precipitation as the air ascended from the warmer lowlands to their colder, higher altitudes. Leo and adjacent Inselbergs in eastern Africa are vital water supplies for the nearby lowlands. They are so important that local communities refer to them as Rainmaker Mountains. He recounted discovering inverted clay vessels atop Mount Leo, positioned in close proximity to the initial point of the principal watercourse originating from the mountain. He speculates that this act was carried out as a religious offering in an attempt to secure an abundant water supply for the crops located below during the arid season. The mysterious Rishat structure. The Rishat structure, sometimes called the Guelb-er-Rishat or the Blue Eye of the Sahara, is a large bullseye-shaped geological structure located in the Sahara Desert. The formation spans a 40-kilometer-wide expanse of the desert in the country of Mauritania. Throughout millennia, the knowledge of the formation was limited to a small number of indigenous nomadic tribes. The Gemini astronauts first captured images of it in the 1960s, using it as a reference point to monitor the advancement of their landing procedures. Subsequently, the Landsat satellite captured supplementary photographs and furnished data regarding the dimensions, elevation, and scope of the formation. The Eye of the Sahara was first thought by geologists to be an impact crater formed when an object from space collided with the Earth. Nevertheless, extensive analyses of the rocks within the formation indicate that its origins are solely terrestrial. It has been determined by geologists that the Eye of the Sahara is a geologic dome. The formation has rocks that have a minimum age of 100 million years, with some dating back to a time well before the emergence of life on Earth. These rocks consist of both igneous volcanic deposits and sedimentary layers that are formed by the wind pushing layers of dust and water depositing sand and mud. The entire area surrounding the Eye was raised millions of years ago by volcanic activity that originated deep beneath the surface of the Earth. These regions were not arid wastelands, as they currently are. It is probable that they were considerably milder, characterized by a plentiful supply of flowing water. Stratified sandstone formations were formed through Aeolian deposition in lacustrine and fluvial environments throughout the temperate period. The subterranean volcanic magma gradually exerted enough force to uplift the layers of sandstone and other rock formations above it. Following the cessation of volcanic activity, the process of wind and water erosion commenced, gradually eroding the successive layers of rock forming the domed structure. The region underwent a process of stabilization and contraction, resulting in the formation of a round eye characteristic. It is important to mention that there are still some who believe that the construction is, in fact, the remnants of the mythical city of Atlantis, as its circular form is claimed to bear resemblance to the region described by Plato. The account from ancient Greece is conveyed to us through recorded history, specifically by Plato, one of the most prolific writers in philosophy. Atlantis is initially mentioned in the stories Timaeus and Critias by the author. In the dialogue Timaeus, the character Critias recounts a narrative to Socrates. The protagonist Solon, who is a historical predecessor of Plato, embarks on a lengthy voyage to Egypt in this narrative. He converses with an Egyptian priest about ancient history. The priest, not impressed by Solon's stories, resolves to enlighten him with an obscure historical narrative that was unfamiliar to the Greeks during that period. An Egyptian elder provides Solon with a synopsis of the ideal state of Athens, predating the Athenians' own historical records. He characterizes Athens during this period as being exceptional in all intellectual endeavors, leading a virtuous lifestyle and adhering to the principle of moderation. The text describes the efforts of Atlantis, a formidable kingdom, to conquer neighboring civilizations, especially Egypt. However, it was the Athenians who successfully thwarted their ambitions. Right after their loss, the continent of Atlantis was engulfed by devastating floods and earthquakes, resulting in the submergence of the land under muddy terrain, rendering the once navigable seas impassable. Plato provides a more elaborate account of Atlantis in his work, Critias. Atlantis was established by Poseidon, the deity who developed a deep affection for a mortal woman named Cleito. Collectively, they had 5 pairs of twins, who eventually grew up and assumed control over the 10 distinct provinces of Atlantis. Over time, it is hypothesized that these monarchs gradually partitioned sections of this legendary territory with the intention of establishing a lasting heritage within each family. The Atlanteans developed into a highly sophisticated culture, surpassing all other contemporary civilizations in terms of advancement. They were renowned for their advanced skills in sea navigation, city planning, military endeavors, and agricultural practices. The city of Atlantis was a central citadel surrounded by 6 concentric rings, consisting of 3 rings of water and 3 circles of land. Plato's dialogue depicts the city of Atlantis as situated 50 stades away from the sea, equivalent to little less than 6 miles. Atlantis was linked to the ocean with a canal that was 300 feet in width and 100 feet in depth. The canal terminated at a harbor located near the settlement. Plato described Atlantis as a continent that was bigger than the combined size of Asia and Libya. The city is situated amidst expansive plains that span around 230 miles in width and 345 miles in length. Towards the northern end of the continent, there is a substantial mountain range, while the remaining central plains are encircled by smaller mountains. The entire continent was characterized as having fertile soil, abundant plant and animal biodiversity, including elephants, and favorable temperatures for supporting various life forms. Plato meticulously documents several characteristics of Atlantis in great detail throughout the dialogue. He describes the central palace, exquisite bathhouses, temples, gold and silver statues, gardens, aqueducts, water storage cisterns, residential buildings for both humans and animals, guardhouses, and even racetracks. In the city of Atlantis, bulls were revered and considered sacred, freely wandering the streets. Plato proceeds to delineate more settlements of individuals in the adjacent regions of the continent, categorizing them as affluent agriculturalists and rural inhabitants. Plato elucidates the organizational structure of the military implemented by the city-state of Atlantis. He provides extensive information about the different positions held by individuals in the ancient city and its social structure, ranging from the king to the citizens. In the latter part of the Timaeus debate, Plato discusses the Atlanteans' descent into complacency within their human nature as they succumb to corruption fueled by greed and gradually lose their sense of dignity. In the conclusion of the Critias, it is stated that Zeus intends to exact vengeance for these deeds, and subsequently, the conversation abruptly terminates. Timaeus and Critias, like much of Plato's writings, are often interpreted by scholars as fictional narratives intended to convey metaphorical meanings. However, there are also many who consider them to be genuine historical records of actual occurrences. Solon, moreover, was a direct predecessor of Plato and plausibly had the opportunity to personally journey to Egypt, where he could have acquired knowledge of Atlantis, subsequently transmitting the account to Plato. An argument in favor of the existence of Atlantis is the meticulous level of detail that Plato employed in his description of this ancient civilization. Why expend such a significant amount of energy on elucidating the most infinitesimal particulars, solely to convey a metaphor? Plato provided Critias with specific and logical information about a place that may have existed in the past and could potentially now exist, including dimensions of the entire continent, as well as data about the depth and width of the canals and concentric circles within the city. Plato may have potentially utilized a genuine historical account as a basis and then enhanced it with an artistic method to effectively convey his metaphors. Several Atlantologists, who specialize in studying flood history documented by ancient Egyptians, Mesoamericans, and some European societies, also maintain the belief that Plato was recounting genuine historical occurrences. The prevailing belief is that the deluge that submerged Atlantis is identical to the flood depicted in the narrative of Noah's Ark. However, flood narratives can be traced back to a time predating the Bible, and numerous of these narratives exhibit striking resemblances with just minor variations. Therefore, it raises the question, what is the reason behind the prevalence of identical flood stories throughout various cultures? One hypothesis posits that these floods occurred during the final stages of the previous glacial period. This aligns with Plato's account of the demise of Atlantis, as recounted by the Egyptian sage, around 9,000 years prior to Solon's visit to Egypt. This is when empirically validated geological discoveries become relevant. Scientific evidence confirms that around 11,600 years ago, the Earth saw significant increases in sea level. In order for this idea to be logical, it is necessary to assume that Atlantis existed during the last ice age. Furthermore, it is speculated that towards the conclusion of this age, a pole shift may have occurred, resulting in several catastrophic catastrophes. Speculation exists among researchers that survivors from this ancient maritime culture may have established contact with neighboring civilizations like Egypt in Africa, the Incan and Aztec empires in South and Central America, as well as Babylonia and Sumer in Mesopotamia, and perhaps India. Each of these societies possesses narratives recounting the emergence of men following a catastrophic flood occurrence. In ancient Egypt, Thoth and Osiris were revered deities. In the Inca civilization, Viracocha held a similar position of importance. The Aztec Empire worshipped Quetzalcoatl as a significant god. In India, Vishnu was a highly venerated deity. In Babylonia, Oannes was a prominent figure in religious beliefs. It is possible that the survivors from Atlantis journeyed to various locations and, because of their high level of development, were revered as deities, exerting a significant influence on the historical development of each culture. An hypothesis that substantiates this theory is the unearthing of pyramids and constructions resembling pyramids in all of these regions. Presumably, the survivors disseminated their understanding of pyramids and their celestial alignment, with the expectation that subsequent civilizations would assemble the evidence and unravel this enigma. Another hypothesis posits that Atlantis was indeed obliterated during the conclusion of the Bronze Age. The reason for this confusion in historical timelines might be attributed to the ancient Egyptian method of timekeeping. The ancient Egyptians employed both solar and lunar years to measure time. Solar years consist of 365 days per year, but lunar years are counted in months. If the Egyptian sage who recounted the tale of Atlantis to Solon was referring to lunar years, equivalent to 9,000 months rather than standard years, this could have coincided with the conclusion of the Bronze Age. Another historical tale documented by the Egyptians that supports this theory is referred to as the invasion of the Sea Peoples. During the period known as the Bronze Age collapse, an unidentified faction launched an assault on Egypt and many regions in the eastern Mediterranean. Emerging seemingly out of obscurity, they swiftly attacked Egypt from the Mediterranean Sea. The Battle of the Delta, a renowned conflict, took place. Egypt successfully repelled the unidentified assailants. Is it possible that these assailants were indeed individuals from the lost civilization of Atlantis? Regardless, it is possible that they were not engaging in an attack, but rather Egypt was employing an offensive defense strategy and documented the war as if they were the ones being invaded. Considering the aforementioned evidence and the substantial support for the existence of Atlantis, the question arises, where may it be concealed? The precise location of Atlantis and the potential whereabouts of its ruins are subjects of intense controversy within the field of Atlantology. Various speculations on the site span throughout the globe, encompassing the Canary and Azores Islands, the North and Irish Seas of the Atlantic, the Spartel Bank, and southern Morocco near Gibraltar, and possibly the Cyprus Basin. Although there are other potential places for Atlantis, this video will focus on 3 that are both widely believed to be Atlantis and have substantial factual evidence supporting their claims. The initial potential site is currently identified as Donana National Park in the southwestern region of Andalusia, Spain. The primary corroborating evidence for this site is its geological placement. According to Plato, Atlantis was located in close proximity to or somewhat beyond the Pillars of Heracles, now recognized as the Rock of Gibraltar. Some people claim that this location is the ancient civilization of Tartessos. This location is referenced multiple times in the Bible, but is referred to as Tarshish. It is described as a highly prosperous civilization, abundant in valuable materials such as gold, copper, tin, silver, and iron. The minerals stated throughout Plato's dialogues while describing Atlantis are the same. Several scholars suggest that Tartessos and Atlantis may well be synonymous, albeit referred to by distinct names in other civilizations. Additional corroborating evidence for this location may be found in the Tartessian ruins located in Cancho Roano, which is situated directly north of Donana Park. It is widely acknowledged that following the deluge, a portion of the survivors from Tartessos, also known as Atlantis, migrated towards the northern regions. Archaeologists have uncovered ruins in Cancho Roano that have a striking resemblance to a smaller version of Plato's legendary metropolis of Atlantis. At the entrance of this miniature version of Atlantis, there is a sculpture of a warrior positioned in front of 3 concentric circles. Another potential site for the elusive metropolis of Atlantis is the contemporary island of Santorini, situated to the north of Crete. During the later stages of the Bronze Age, a significant occurrence called the Thera eruption, also referred to as the Minoan eruption, occurred. This was a devastating volcanic eruption that decimated the bulk of Santorini, as well as inflicted devastation on adjacent islands through seismic activity and tsunamis. Currently, there was a Minoan town located on the island, which held a prominent position as a maritime force in the eastern Mediterranean. Archaeologists have discovered that this city had sophisticated engineering expertise, which included the construction of 3 to 4-story buildings, constructions designed to withstand mild earthquakes, as well as plumbing and sewage systems. The Minoans were discovered to venerate bulls, similar to the Atlanteans. Prior to the Thera eruption, the island may have exhibited a ring-like shape similar to Plato's description. However, this location does not support any association with the Pillars of Heracles, assuming that is indeed their correct location. It is possible that survivors of the eruption sought refuge in neighboring civilizations, which could establish a link between Santorini and the narratives involving the Sea Peoples, or the notion of being revered as deities among the aforementioned cultures. The continent of Antarctica is seen as the third and ultimate potential location for the lost civilization of Atlantis. The foundation of this concept is rooted in the crustal displacement hypothesis. Essentially, this hypothesis posits that the Earth's crust undergoes a shifting process akin to the movement of the skin of a grapefruit over its soft inner part. This idea is augmented by additional theories, such as continental drift and the aforementioned pole shift theory. Crustal displacement is supported by the discovery of excavated remnants of woolly mammoths in North America. Upon their discovery, experts saw that the stomach contents of these creatures consisted of food typically found in warm climates. This indicates that they were frozen so quickly that they were unable to escape. According to Plato, Atlantis was described as being larger than Libya and Asia combined, which could be a plausible comparison to the potential size of Antarctica without its glacial covering. Contemporary scholars have, however, highlighted that ancient sailors frequently assessed the size of land masses based on their coastline boundaries rather than their true acreage. When considering the true lengths of Asia and Libya's coastlines, as perceived by ancient mapmakers, it is possible that the land area of Atlantis was more comparable to the proportions of Cyprus or Sardinia. Researchers commonly acknowledge that ancient Greek poets may have mislabeled what is now known as Asia and Libya. An instance of this could be mentioning the Kingdom of Lydia, located in Turkey rather than Asia, or referring to a geographical area near the Nile Delta instead of Libya. Recently, aerial photographs have been taken of multiple concentrically structured formations over Antarctica. Is it conceivable that these structures represent remnants of ancient civilizations from Atlantis? Until further knowledge is acquired, the enigma of Atlantis will persist as an inexplicable phenomenon in the globe.